Is North Korea breaking the world order? For decades, we treated them like a geopolitical joke, a starving hermit kingdom, a regime firing missiles just to beg for aid. But when the United Nations confirms that a missile hitting Kharkiv is actually a North Korean Hwasong-11, the joke ends. This is no longer a joke. This is a highly calculated billion-dollar war machine. We measured their power the wrong way. We looked at GDP and dark satellite maps. But in a war of attrition, when two sides try to bleed each other dry, the rules change. Power is not measured by microchips. It is measured by millions of artillery shells. While the West spent decades building expensive weapons, Pyongyang quietly preserved something far more useful in a long war: the ability to mass-produce cheap destruction. Now the global order is cracking, and North Korea is cashing in. They are structurally benefiting from everyone else's conflicts. So why should you care? Because every shipment leaving Pyongyang raises the cost of American power. It helps drive up the cost of sustaining America's commitments in Ukraine. And over time, it complicates America's ability to focus on the Pacific. The deeper point is this: North Korea is not the arsonist. It is the man at the back door selling fuel to every fire. They are turning global chaos into an engine of power. And here is how that hidden mechanism actually works. Look at the North Korean port of Rajan. It sits quietly near the Russian border. But today, it is no longer just a port. It is a gateway. It is a place where war is packed into containers and shipped to Europe. For months, analysts have tracked a massive logistics bridge operating here. Thousands of shipping containers are moving steadily between North Korea and Russia. They hold millions of Soviet-style artillery shells. Why does this specific trade matter? Because artillery is the basic currency of a war of attrition. The West has consistently struggled to manufacture enough shells to keep Ukraine fully supplied. But Pyongyang has spent decades hoarding them. They built an entire shadow economy around mass-producing cheap firepower. Now they are cashing in, but the mechanism is expanding far beyond old artillery shells. According to Reuters, recent satellite imagery reveals major construction at North Korean missile plants. They are expanding assembly lines. They are even building new worker housing. They are aggressively scaling up production of the Hwasong-11, the exact short-range ballistic missile Russia is using to strike Ukrainian targets. Expanding worker housing is not a temporary fix. It is the physical footprint of a long-term war economy. In practice, North Korea is becoming an increasingly vital supplier for Moscow. Without Pyongyang's factories, Russia's war machine would face severe bottlenecks. And they are doing all of this in plain sight. How? Because the global enforcement system has been deliberately broken. In March 2024, Russia used its veto power. It effectively shut down the United Nations panel of experts monitoring North Korean sanctions. Think of it like a bank heist. The biggest customer just walked in and fired the security guard. That is a structural collapse of international deterrence. Then the strategy escalated even further. By late 2024 and early 2025, Pyongyang crossed an entirely new line. Reuters reported that thousands of North Korean troops were deployed to support Russia. This historic move was driven by a newly signed strategic partnership treaty between the two nations. The deeper point is this: North Korea is no longer just a regional headache for the United States. It has stepped completely out of the shadows. It is actively sustaining a major European war. It is projecting hard power thousands of miles away from its own borders. But while Pyongyang is supplying the fire, they do not do charity. Every missile, every artillery shell, and every soldier comes with a strategic price tag. The real question is not just what they are selling, it is what they are secretly buying in return. What is Pyongyang actually buying with the blood of its war machine? They are not fighting for ideological solidarity. They are running a highly calculated geopolitical business. For years, international sanctions choked the North Korean economy. Now, Moscow is keeping it alive. South Korean officials and analysts believe Russia is compensating Pyongyang with economic support. This includes energy, food, and other material assistance. They are effectively bypassing the US-led financial system entirely. But material support is just the down payment. The real prize is data. Think of the Ukrainian battlefield as a deadly, real-time laboratory. For decades, North Korea could only test missiles by firing them into the empty ocean. That tells you very little. Now, the environment has changed. According to Reuters, North Korean-designed ballistic missiles are entering battle space defended by Western systems. This includes US-made Patriots. Each use of these missiles potentially gives Pyongyang something it could never get from the sea: real combat feedback against advanced air defenses. They have an unprecedented opportunity to gather data. They refine their targeting algorithms. Imagine hiring a hacker to test your enemy's security network and keeping the diagnostic report. That is the strategic value Pyongyang might be extracting. Then there is the ultimate strategic nightmare: advanced technology transfer. Analysts and officials suspect Pyongyang may be seeking sensitive military know-how. This potentially includes help linked to satellites, submarine capabilities, and other strategic systems. While exact transfers remain unconfirmed, the strategic threat is hard to miss. Russia possesses the scientific knowledge North Korea needs to reliably threaten the American mainland. So why does this matter to the American taxpayer? Because the United States is not just spending billions to defend Ukraine today. The US is fighting a proxy war of attrition. This creates conditions that may help North Korea improve its weapons it could use to threaten others tomorrow. Pyongyang is potentially upgrading its lethal capabilities on someone else's dime, and this upgraded war machine will not just stay in Europe. But this war machine does not just run on oil and artillery. It runs on billions of dollars in stolen code. While the world watches trains moving physical weapons, Pyongyang operates a parallel digital empire. Cyber warfare is not a side project. It is a core pillar of state survival. In 2025, hackers stole roughly $1.5 billion from the crypto exchange Bybit. Reuters reported that the FBI officially attributed this massive heist to North Korean cyber actors. Why does a hermit kingdom steal cryptocurrency? Because digital money does not respect international borders. It cannot be easily blocked by the US Treasury. A United Nations panel of experts previously called cybercrime absolutely fundamental to Pyongyang. It is their primary tool for evading global sanctions. Think of it like a global digital mafia. They rob virtual banks to fund a real-world nuclear program. They steal crypto. They launder it. Laundering means hiding the illegal origin of money. Then they use it to buy illicit missile components. And the physical weapons they build do not only go to Russia. This shadow network has a truly global reach. South Korean intelligence and think tanks like Brookings have tracked North Korean weapons in the Middle East. This includes arms reportedly used by Hamas. While direct sales to these non-state actors remain unconfirmed, the pattern is clear. North Korean weapons consistently find their way into global conflict zones. The deeper point is this: Washington built an entire financial fortress to isolate Pyongyang, but North Korea simply dug a digital tunnel underneath it. They bypassed the US-led financial system entirely. So, where does this all end? Pyongyang is not trying to start World War III. That would mean the end of their regime. Their real goal is much more calculated. They want a world divided enough to make US sanctions irrelevant. According to analysts cited by Reuters, Pyongyang's ultimate goal is clear. They want Washington to accept a hard truth. They want the US to face a reality it cannot easily reverse. They want to be treated as a de facto nuclear state. De facto means existing in reality, even if not legally recognized. They no longer need America to lift sanctions. They have found a way to survive without Washington's permission. The chaos in Europe and the Middle East serves this goal perfectly. It distracts the United States. It forces the Pentagon to spread its resources thin. Every crisis elsewhere acts as a strategic shield for Pyongyang. Think of it like a blocked road. America put up a massive roadblock to isolate North Korea. So Pyongyang helped Russia and others build an entirely new highway. Now, North Korea is sitting at the toll booth, collecting the cash. For decades, the West believed economic isolation would break North Korea. We thought we could starve their war machine into submission. But the strategic reality is the exact opposite. Sanctions did not destroy the North Korean war machine. Instead, they forced it to adapt. They taught it how to evolve and thrive in the dark. And today, that machine is fueling a new era of global disorder. This leaves Washington with a massive strategic dilemma. Is containing North Korea still possible? Or has America simply spent its leverage in the wrong theaters? What do you think? Is Pyongyang's rise a temporary distraction or a long-term structural trap for the US? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to understand the real mechanisms driving global power, subscribe.